Hello, this is Damian Questiny. Thank you so much for joining us. Please take your seat at the table, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. So by observing and participating in the outside world, the world communicates to you. The world responds to you. And that response is best handled if you're doing it in a relationship where you are open and willing to accept information that is being presented on multiple levels. And those multiple levels is what I'd like to share with you today, which is the elements themselves, the elemental part of your hypertech experience. And the elemental part is simply broken into the four main elemental parts, which is air, water, fire, and, of course, earth. So if you have too much of an element, then you become out of balance. If you have too little, you become out of balance as well. So what you want to do is consider how to put things into your life that contain certain elements that will fill your buckets, if you will. So everything is working optimally and in harmony. Because when you are born, you have a certain blueprint, a certain structure that you have been given as your skills and your talents when you arrive. And these skills and talents, you can speculate on how you get these. But the planets themselves on the day of your birth reveal to you what your blueprint looks like. And with that blueprint, guess what you get to do? You get to make whatever you want out of it. You get to add to it. You get to subtract, if you will, but you never actually lose it. That's the funny thing about this whole experience, at least from my perspective. Is even the destroyers, they still cannot remove the initial essence in which they received on arriving here in birth, right? This is the great conundrum, the great frustration that you will find, at least from my experience, is that no matter how hard you chip away at your soul, at your blueprint, at your foundation, it stays as strong as ever. In fact, it even gets stronger in some cases. I hope that I'm being somewhat clear on my muddy definition. But relationships is key. So, because the world is full of these elements externally, this is what I've been describing as wealth to you, is the external world itself is wealth, is actually abundance, and you are filled with it all around you all the time. So this is kind of why I snicker and laugh and do these kind of things, because people who have lack in their life is only because they're not sensitive to the world around them. And with that lack, do you not have the tools around you to find the materials and resources in which to gather in order to bring abundance to that particular area? So if you need lettuce to feed your community, are there not seeds in which that you can find and gather and have at your disposal to where now you can add that resource in abundance into your community matrix? Why I'm bringing this up is because we're going to talk more about not necessarily the world around us, and you can find that all over the place if you want. I mean, we can discuss it too. But we're going to more talk about what the world inside of you is going on. Because once you realize how much is out there for you to participate and observe and have fun with, for those who like fun, and realize that if you laid out a bunch of things in front of you, what would be the best thing to have? Fun. Fun would be the best thing to have. That's what I would grab if I had a table full of tools in front of me. So now that we know of the elements, Are we made of the same substances? Do we have these properties? And if we did have these properties, how does that work? How does that function? What's the form that those things would take if we also possess air, water, fire, and earth? What are our bodies made out of? How about our senses? Do they have a relationship to these things? Because these are all internal to us. And if we have these properties, can we intune ourselves to the world? Can we communicate through this? This is the lessons that I have been trying to share with you here, and the reality of remote viewing. And just like how government influences you, but yet you cannot point to him in the room, or her, or it, the thing, the creature. Where is government? Point to it. That is remote influencing at a distance. They are not here in the room, yet they have control over you. So what I'm trying to tell you, and I've been trying to teach as best I can and share, because I want to hear from you too and hear what you have to say, is that if you can be controlled from a distance, why can't you control things from a distance? And when I say control, I don't use that in a negative term. I use that in a way that is in the love and essence and compassion and evidence of cooperation and relationships and community. But most importantly, organization. Because when you have organization, it becomes easy to participate in the world itself, because you know where to put everything, where you're not spending a lot of calories and a lot of energy on trying to find where you left your memories, trying to find where you left your experiences, because you have organized your life in such a way that everything flows so easily when you want to go back and retrieve it in time and space, which we've discussed before. But this is, you take the world around you and you take it into yourself if you have the understanding that you are elemental, just like the world. You have to have some foundations and speculations, right? You have to have some way to model the world in which you participate in. So you should always be working on this. Always be shaping and molding your art, because that's what Elemental Hypertech is turning your life into art. Turn it into its own unique presence and influence. Has its own responses. It transmits, right? Everybody sees something a little different. People disagree, very healthy. Disagree, correct. Do it with evidence and compassion. I know that offends some people when I say evidence and compassion because, you're strong. But when you realize that where the strength really has its power is in compassion. That's what's so funny to me when people attack over the word compassion and call names over it, when then it just reveals to you how the mind can take over, how the mind thinks and doesn't really reason. So bring these elements into you if you can take that leap of faith that is a real process. And by doing that, you now have access to the morphic field itself, because the world follows these same rules. And that's the morphic field, the connection between all of these things. And you pierce that, and you follow that based on whatever element you want to communicate through. So if it's long distance, you can maybe do it through air. If it's under the ocean, do it through water. But on your end, and here's where we haven't really discussed much, but I think I need to bring it up so that way you guys don't think that I'm totally nuts. And which is fine too if you do think that, because those have ears to hear and eyes to see, they will. Okay, now, here's how to make this actually work. And this is the part you don't get to hear very much about. But to make these things actually happen elementally, you have to have the elements on your end as well. So, for example, if you are participating in your practice regarding a target that exists in water, you have to have this element in your control on your end. So perhaps a bowl of water will be needed for your practice. Okay? If the target in which you're looking at is in constant movement, or if it's disturbing in some way, or maybe it's something that you want to mutate into something else, then perhaps fire needs to be around you, and that fire needs to be lit and ready. Okay, these are things that the scientists don't take it far enough, so to speak. Same for Earth. If you're looking for mining, if you're looking for gems, if you're looking for something precious, secrets are precious, are they not? Technology can be precious, right? Especially for the penguins. So you have to have these elements at your disposal. And in fact, it gets even creepier that I won't share with you, but you can put elements in your practice like daggers and flowers and scents, aroma, herbs. All right, guys? So I don't want to get into all that stuff because then, I start getting called names and it's just never ending, and then I'm bored, okay? And I gotta deal with, people who like to, call names. So we'll leave it at that. There's a lot we can talk about, but if you just accept my presentation to you, it's this. If you can see the world as elements and you can accept that as a reality, you don't have to. If you don't accept it as a reality, that's fine, all right? You can believe in explosions and big bangs, or you can believe in electricity and magnetism, and how these elements play this role in the wealth of the world. And then you, as a transmitter and receiver, pluck out your intentions and your interests, the things that captivate you. Because the elements, that's what they want to do. They want to charm you. They want to captivate you. They want you to supply them with your energy and observational participation, right? They want to be noticed and play a role not just in your external world, but they want also to have a relationship in your internal. And that needs permission. And that is by choice. Subscribe or like. I'd really love to hear your views. Cheers.